Welcome to Hybiz News. My name is Suresh Kochatil. For a media person, the lockdown of 21 days is nothing short of a nightmare. Used to hyper deadlines and running around the city to get the news ready, and of course, ensuring that the print goes as per schedule and the distribution happens. But over the last 1 week, we have seen a world without newspapers. And for a person who is an editor, author, writer, Sriram Karri of Deccan Chronicle would be the right person to answer and tell us what really happened and how the world changed in the last 4 to 5 days. Welcome to Hybiz News, Sriram.
Thank you for the question, Suresh, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to your viewers. I'll break this query of yours into two broad sets. Firstly, we've realized more than ever before that we are human beings first. We've found our life changed like never ever before. And in the last 1 week, we've all had opportunities to reflect, introspect, think. I think we are appreciating so many things which we missed before. We are missing things which we taken for granted. So in too many ways, this has been one of the most extraordinary weeks of our lives. And don't forget, you and I, we're from a generation that saw the emergency in 75. We've seen 1984, we've seen 1989, we've seen 99, 91, I mean, everything. So in other words, this has been like a week of life that you would never have believed is possible, except in perhaps a sci-fi Hollywood movie where the world ends and somebody has to stand up and protect humanity. If you go back to a few weeks ago, most of us would have used this phrase, I don't have time. I think quite singularly, this is 1 week of our lives in maybe decades. We have not said it. All of us are saying, oh, we have too much time. We don't know what to do. We have to go out. We have not seen a traffic jam. We have not been stuck in one for a week. I think we are hearing birds and creatures at night, and we are able to see stars. Because it's been a week of silence, it's been a week of lack of smoke, lack of sound, lack of urban hustle, lack of overabundance of population around us. We're spending more time with our families. We're not able to know what to do with this sense of constraint of space and coming together of people who really matter to us. But we have found ways and excuses in the past to not perhaps give them the kind of quality time. So parents and children, wives and husbands, or brothers, sisters, they're spending more time. And they're asking themselves what to do. And therefore, I think all of us have been pushed back into our core priorities. It's been 5 days. We are told it's a 21-day lockdown for sure. Most people fear it could get extended based on how effective we have been in containing COVID-19 in these 3 weeks. And maybe we were ready somewhere at the back of our mind. None of us would be surprised if there's an extension. So in other words, what do we do? So we go back to that phrase, I don't have time. I would love to do this, but I just don't have the time. So please go back to the list of all the things you would like to do and did not do because you didn't have time. I think a lot of people are, after the first 2-3 days of settling down into this anxiety, into this new sense of a disrupted sense of space and time. We have, in the past, had a lot of space to navigate from office to home and back, and too little time. Now we have a little less space, too much of time. So what to do with it? How do you fill this time? So I believe, go back to that list. What are the 2 or 3 things you definitely wanted to do? Normally this happens in New Year. You make resolutions and say, oh, I'll become healthier, I'll quit that habit, I'll start going to work out, do all that. In India, there's definitely a sense of class entitlement. We take so many people who work for us, who make our lives comfortable, for granted. Our maids, somebody who comes and washes the dishes, somebody who cleans your car, somebody who sweeps your house, mops it, and you wonder if they're doing a good job. All of us have done it last 4 or 5 days. Perhaps for the first time in our lives, perhaps after decades. And it's not just good for your fitness, but it also perhaps post this crisis is over, because we will get through this crisis. This lockdown will be over. Coronavirus will become yet another manageable threat. I hope this leads to greater respect for people who work hard, people who are almost invisible in our lives. We'll be more grateful to them because they liberate us to do higher quality work, which gives us more money. So this whole economic social pyramid is better appreciated by people. Those of you who would have wanted to act in a movie, please act in a movie now, shoot it at home. Some of you would have wanted to do stand-up comedy, do it now, throw it up there in WhatsApp. Some of you would have wanted to write poetry, some of you would want to sing a song, or some of you would have wanted to perhaps start a charity organization and do some drive, do a raise of funds, contribute it to some organization you believe in. There are some good people like Suresh working to take food to the people who are, stuck in Hyderabad or without possibly food at home, or they have no access to cooking, and such organizations are working with the police and the other officials. Please work with them and contribute. Do whatever you like within the constraints. I think once we start seeing what we can do, the constraints cease to matter. And that's where we are. As far as my whole challenge professionally is concerned, as the media is concerned, last week we brought out a print edition, which is our usual run, and lakhs of copies, being the largest circulated newspaper of Telangana and Hyderabad at Deccan Chronicle. We got lakhs of copies which were not picked up by hawker associations. They are concerned that people will obviously not allow them inside. They'll pick up the paper, physically travel across the city. It poses risks. And newspapers come to your doorsteps, unlike television or digital media, with a lot of brick mortar kind of connectivity and supply chain. Thousands of boys early morning get up at 4:30, pick up from common depots, distribute this paper to each doorstep. It's a risk at one level for the people who receive the newspaper. It's a risk for those boys. Cops would, perhaps not allow such people. Whatever, a whole range of issues have led to the publications suspending their print edition. However, what's happening is all of us have been focusing on the e-paper, which comes as usual, but it's an unusual paper. I don't think anybody has seen Deccan Chronicle for 4 days in a row without a single advertisement. I mean, sometimes I remember readers complain during Dashara, Diwali that there are more ads than there's news. That's the kind of paper it is. And suddenly you have an adless Deccan Chronicle e-paper. All of us in the desk, in the reporting, are joking that we have become the digital paper boys. Each one of us is distributing this e-paper right from midnight till next morning, to our friends, to everybody. And it's a beautiful thing. We appreciate the power of digital at this point of time. We see the near, ubiquitousness of digital, the reach it has, people being able to, and I'm finding some of my friends who would never have read my paper sitting in Canada or US or Germany, none of them from Hyderabad or AP or Telangana, some of them, being able to read my paper, and they're appreciating it. So digital has its power of reach. The challenge, of course, is to continue to give people authentic information. I'm not romantically attached, though I like the paper format. What is most important in the newspaper is the news itself, and news has to reach people. We are therefore, like any responsible media at this point of time, in a national crisis, a global crisis, working with the government on one hand. Very often media and governments tend to and should perhaps have an adversarial relationship, but at point of crisis we fully back the police, we fully back the administration, we back the government and take credible information to people so that rumors, fake news, they do not spread. You inform people of their risks, we make them get all those facts which will enable them to make rational decisions and behave as responsible citizens should in support, so that this lockdown succeeds, so that our battle against coronavirus as a state, as a country, leads to us winning it with minimum possible damage to human life, with least number of possible people are getting affected. And at the same time, bringing to the people our readers and people everywhere, stories on one hand of the misery and tragedy that hits some of the less fortunate people. I mean, if you're at home and you're saying, oh, I'm stuck at home. No, sir, you're not stuck at home. You're safe at home. Think about somebody who's homeless or stuck on the road or walking hundreds of kilometers. And because the media is reporting it, government is able to respond quickly. You must have heard, for example, in this whole Delhi UP border, governments have quickly mobilized, opened places for them to stay, has taken buses. I mean, you may always say, has it done good enough, fast enough? But anyway, the action is. So media is needed. It's also very important for the government to appreciate that. Sometimes governments don't appreciate it. Governments and police tend to believe that, oh, this media has to be clamped down. What is media doing? No, they are doing something very important. You need to get information for you to take rational decisions. As much as information from the government has to reach people and media helps you there, media will, and media alone can bring credible information about people to the government so that you can decide better. Because trust me, the Twitter accounts of MLAs and MPs tweeting their political bosses will not give you a correct picture. They cannot. And if the government doesn't know how to use the media at this point of time, they will not succeed as effectively as they should. And we need them to at this stage in this fight against coronavirus. So yes, do the fun, trolling on Twitter on all journalists as much as you care, but appreciate this is just a pipe connecting people with the government, and both government and people need it. We will continue to work. There are a lot of brave journalists, like there are brave doctors, brave nurses, brave boys and girls who are delivering groceries to a step, people who are working God knows where to make sure our electricity supply is maintained. I know there is a huge fall in demand because industries and commercial establishments are not working. Nevertheless, giving power supply, giving water, people, farmers who, making sure we get food on time, we're getting vegetables, salute to them. Let's all appreciate how closely we are connected as a country, as a world. Let us look inwards, see the strength we have. This is the greatest story we'll tell before we die to our grandchildren. Your heroism today is in complying, staying at home, keeping your hands clean, washing them, making sure you keep your family safe, not venturing out. And those of you who have to, because of being part of the emergency services, healthcare, government, police, and the media, take care of yourself. And most importantly, once all this is over, you will go back to having a lot of space, very little time. So use this opportunity. Get close to those who matter to you. Get closer to your closed ones, beloved ones. Find out your true strengths. Look into your heart, your soul. And never again will you have the excuse, I didn't ever have time to do this. So whatever the great fantasy of yours, achieve it in the next 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And once this lockdown is over, we'll all be a greater society, a better country, a better world. Of that I'm sure. So all the best. Take care.
Thank you very much, Sriram Karri, for kind of encapsulating the entire lockdown scenario for us. I think nobody could have said it better than you. And definitely, we look forward to a world that will be drastically different on 15th of April. Because a lot of things that we thought should have happened and we accepted as a matter of fact will all change. We don't need huge buildings for people to work out of. We don't need to travel 3 hours to work. And suddenly we realize that there is a different world that happened because of this lockdown that happened. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sriram Karri, resident editor of Deccan Chronicle and an author in his own right, and of course, an excellent orator. This is Suresh Kochatal from Hybiz News, signing off.